Well, after about a 24-hour storm and nearly 3 inches of rain, I had to stop everything I was doing and get this frame prepped and ready to move into the shop so my winter project is in place when the snow shows up. The rain that was coming down around our house turned into snow just a few hundred feet higher in altitude. For the first time this winter, the hills and the mountains all around us have a good dusting of snow. Okay, this is the frame that I'm going to use for my next build. And this frame came out from underneath a 2000 Superduty F350 regular cab long bed 4x4 that had the 7.3 Power Stroke and the ZF6 transmission in it. And everything up here's got a little surface rust on it. So I'm going to try and treat the surface rust by first pressure washing it. Then I'm going to use that rust reformer, the Rust-Oleum rust reformer. And then I'm basically going to try and get everything prepped and ready to get this ready for my winter project. Any second now, the weather's going to change. It's going to get colder, and it's going to get harder to do projects like this outside. And I should be working on the coupe and should be working on a few other things, but I'm going to try and see if I can't get this all prepped and ready to swap the new axles underneath it, the new suspension underneath it from the crew cab short bed frame that I have sitting over on the other property. So the goal is to first remove anything that I don't want on this frame. These cab mounts can kind of be a bear to get off. The front bumper mounts I'm going to take off. I'm going to basically take anything off that is going to get in the way of me putting another Bumpside cab and front clip on this truck. I don't have the luxury of having trucks that sit in a garage and just, you know, trailer queens, show trucks, whatever you want to call them. Everything I've ever built, I've always had to use, and this is going to be no different. It is a 1-ton frame, and I like that, but I am going to put the 3/4 ton leaf springs underneath it. But this truck is going to have that 12-valve Cummins and the NV4500 in it. And the main purpose of this truck is going to be more for towing. As much as I love my 69 Bumpside diesel, it doesn't tow the way a 12-valve Cummins tows. So the 12-valve Cummins is my favorite motor by far, and I can't wait to have something that'll scoot down the road a little bit better than the 7.3 IDI does. But I still love that truck. Everywhere I drive that truck, somebody's always talking to me about it, and I don't think I'm going to get rid of that truck anytime soon either. So
imagine coming home from shopping, your arms are full, your keys are somewhere in the bottom of your purse. You simply wave your hand over the door and walk right in. That's the promise of the TCL D2 Pro Palm Vein Smart Lock. It's the most advanced and surprisingly affordable smart locks we have ever tried. This isn't like any other smart lock out there. With lightning-fast biometric tech, the D2 Pro scans the vein patterns in your palm, unlocking it as little as 0.3 seconds like magic.
It also comes with 2 key fobs and 2 keys if you don't want to wave your hand. And don't worry about wet or dirty hands. Unlike fingerprint scanners, this recognizes the pattern beneath your skin, so it keeps working when you don't want it to fail. It's fast, contactless, and super secure.
You walk up to your door, place your hand just a few centimeters above the sensor, and click, it unlocks almost instantly. No touching, no smudges, and no fumbling for keys. The accuracy is incredible because it scans the subdermal vein patterns. It can't be faked with a photo or print.
It's great for all ages, solves fingerprint recognition issues for children with faint prints and elderly with worn prints. It's built tough too, with IP55 rated protection against rain, dust, and extreme temperatures. So whether you're in humid weather, dusty conditions, or freezing winters like us, this lock keeps performing flawlessly. This is a tool, not a fragile gadget.
The rechargeable battery provides 8 months of use with USB-C emergency charging capability. Built-in Wi-Fi ensures the functionality without internet. To set up your palm on the TCL D2, open up the app, click User Management, click your name, Palm Vein, and then it will take you through instructions. It'll tell you to wait for the red light on your palm reader to turn on, then place your palm in front of the reader to enroll. The optimal enrollment recognition distance is 10 to 15 centimeters or 4 to 6 inches. During the process, other features will be disabled.
On the app, you can also manage users and add new users as you need to. You can also go to auto lock, audio lock, even child settings. There are so many things you can do with this lock. It also works with Google Assistant and Amazon Alexa for seamless smart home ecosystem integration. TCL Home Security is giving away 3 free TCL D2 Pro units. To be eligible, like the video, subscribe to our channel, and also subscribe to TCL Home Security. Leave a comment sharing when do you find a key or traditional passcodes most annoying. Also, how could palm vein recognition help?
3 winners will be asked by TCL's Home Security to leave their email in the winner announcement date. They will be contacted by TCL official email account to leave their address and receive the prize. The winner will receive the prize within 5 work days. Winner announcement date will be 5 days after our go live video date, which is November 19th. The winner will be announced in either a community post or a pinned comment in this sponsored video.
Good luck, and thank you TCL for this fun offer. So the goal for today is to get anything removed off of this frame that I don't want on the frame, including those bumper mounts, including cab mounts, anything that's not gonna matter as far as the bump side is concerned. I'm gonna pressure wash it first, then I'm gonna use this Rust-Oleum rust dissolver, and then I'm gonna put the first coat of the rust reformer on it, and that should be enough to where I can get the new suspension put underneath this and make this frame into a roller so I can get it in the shop and at least get it ready for when the snow flies. Again, this is going to have the 12-valve Cummins that came out of my son's truck that he wrecked and then we rebuilt, and then I bought back from him, then sold the truck and kept the drivetrain. The plan is to build another 4-wheel drive regular cab truck. I'm going to put a flatbed on this truck. I'm going to build a really cool flatbed that I've been thinking about for a couple of years. I'm going to have to probably slide the axle forward a few inches to make everything look right. But step one is getting this frame all prepped and ready to put the Cummins into it and to figure out where I'm going to set that that transmission mount for that NV4500. But it's 55 degrees outside today, and this is probably as close as I'm going to get to a warm day for a while. So today's the day. I was 12 years old when I bought my first project vehicle. It happened to be a 1971 Volkswagen Squareback, and I would never actually get that car on the road because I would have to sell it to pay for the ticket that I got from riding my dirt bike on the street down in Mesa. I've always had a thing about taking old cars or trucks and turning them into the vehicles that I want them to be. And they didn't always turn out the way that I wanted them to in the very beginning, but as I've gotten older and as I've spent a lot more time doing it, I can now see the direction I need to go to get the vehicle that I want. And I've been thinking about this one for quite a while, so I'm kind of excited. I was obsessed with square body Chevys for probably the first 10 years that Cedar and I were married. Then back in probably 2006, I put my first 12-valve Cummins into a square body Chevy, and that engine changed my perspective on everything. Whenever somebody asks why I like to build old trucks, I simply tell them it's cheaper than therapy, and while there's a lot of truth in that statement, I also like driving stuff that nobody else has. I also like taking stuff that nobody else would bother with and turning it into something cool. But over the years, I've never really hung on to anything that I built. And this is probably one of these trucks that I think I'm going to try and hang on to as long as I can. Partly because I got a little bit of a sentimental attachment to the motor and drivetrain that is going to go in this truck, but also because it would be nice to simply keep something that I've built that maybe one day my kids get to fight over. But real soon now, I'm going to have to find something that I can build for my youngest son, Reed, as he's getting closer and closer to that age. As I said earlier, I've never had the luxury of parking my trucks in the garage when the weather's bad outside and driving something else. So I need to do everything I can to prepare this frame for those bad days when it's snowing or raining or even the mud. And I'm going to start by using the Rust-Oleum Rust Dissolver and let that sit for about an hour. Then I'm going to pressure wash that off again, and then I'm going to use the Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer. And then after that has dried, I'm going to use an undercoating spray on top of that. Also, I'm pretty sure somewhere on the back of the bottle it says not to get it on your concrete if you like your concrete. So remember, there is an acid in this stuff. Okay, I'm going to let this now sit for a good solid hour. Then I'm going to hit it again with the pressure washer and get the final residue all washed off. And then the next step is this rust reformer. I'm going to put a couple coats of that on the frame. And then the final step is the Rust-Oleum undercoating, but I need to get this good and dry before I put that final coat on. So far it's really cleaned the frame up. I'm liking how things are going. I really do think there's magic in creating things that can't be bought at the store. To me, there's no challenge in going down to the dealership and buying a new truck and putting some wheels and tires on it and acting like that truck is something special, because deep down, you didn't do anything to it, as opposed to building an old truck like this. I don't care how old you are, if you drive an old truck, then you know how cool it is and how much effort it takes. To me, the big three manufacturers are continuing to produce lower and lower quality products, and for this reason I've told myself I'm going to spend the rest of my life driving old trucks. The other obvious factor with driving an old truck is it should be paid for. So therefore, you don't have a big truck payment that comes along with having a cool rig. So everything pre-1977, that's my new standard for what I'm going to be driving the rest of my life. Now, you might pass me on the side of the road sometime in your new truck, but just remember, I have standards and principles in which I choose to live by. This is what a couple of coats of the Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer after it has dried overnight looks like. I don't know how many times I've said this over the last 9 years that we've had a YouTube channel, but I'm going to say it again. Observe the masses and do the opposite. If you want to have the time to live your life and avoid the debt that consumes most people in this country, buy an old truck. Spend some time working on it, getting comfortable using your hands. Teach your kids how to do it alongside of you, so when you're dead and gone, they know how to use their hands and they can teach their kids to do the same thing. I think one of the most important things you can do in this life is learn how to be creative and think outside of the box, and again, teach the people closest to you to do the same thing. There's a lot of pride and a lot of self-confidence that comes from being able to work comfortably with your hands. It's time to get this early 2000s crew cab short bed frame moved over to where I can swap the axles and anything else off this frame that I think I'll need onto the new frame. This is the moment where we got close to 3 inches of rain and a little bit of snow up on the sides of the mountain, but I can still use the old skid steer to get this frame moved over to where I'm working and see if I can continue the project. There are lots of good parts that I can remove from this donor frame before I take it down to the scrap yard. As far as the new brakes and the steering components are concerned for the new Bumpside diesel build, it will be that of an early 2000s Superduty, including the Hydro Boost setup. So there's quite a few parts off this frame that I can use, but I can also use most of the fuel system. It's a new day and there's still quite a bit of stuff left to be removed off of this frame before I can pull the axles off. There are so many reasons, in my opinion, to keep things completely mechanical with this 12-valve Cummins, and that's the plan. I'm not going to use any of the upgraded fuel systems. I'm simply going to make what was used on the mid-90s Dodge trucks work with this system as well. Sometimes this kind of work can be painful because I feel like there's other things that are more important that I should be working on, but I know, again, that at any moment the snow is going to show up and it's going to be a lot harder to work on stuff outside. So if I can spend a couple of days working on this truck, getting it prepped, my life will be easier down the road. Even in the rain and the mud, the old Bobcat 853 skid steer saves the day once again. I will set this frame aside for a future scrap run, but in the meantime I'm going to hang on to it so I make sure I've got everything removed that I could possibly need. All right, that's where I'm stopping for today. I want to pressure wash everything off really well before I put it underneath the frame. But the hard part's done. It won't take me anywhere near as much effort to get the axles underneath that frame and then get the frame put in the shop. Then I'm going to start the process of setting that 12 valve Cummins into the Superduty frame, which is going to require some different motor mounts. And then once I get everything in place, well, I also want to replace a few seals on that 12 valve Cummins so that thing's not leaking like a sieve like those motors have a tendency to do. And then I've got to find a cab, but I think tomorrow it's not so dry right now, but I think tomorrow it's going to be dry enough where I can start, where I can finish up a few other projects. I need to go get a load of sand for the coupe to get that finished. I need to go pick up some 1x12 siding. I need to take a load of firewood over to Bear Lake. And I need to figure out how I can get back into the cabin and finish the wood shop. And there's dozens of other projects. My plan is to still get insulation blown into the shop. I have a heater that I picked up a couple of years ago for the shop that I finally got all the parts gathered for to have a high BTU propane heater in the shop, so I no longer have to worry about keeping the shop warm when I'm working on these projects. But this was kind of a filler project that I decided to squeeze in because the rain was so bad. We probably got maybe a few inches of rain in that 24-hour period, and it really just kind of messed everything up. But sometimes these projects can be a little bit, they just take longer than I always intend on them taking. And I have to just make myself take another step because there's times when I want to go do other things, other projects. I want to go cut. There's another big brush pile up here I need to burn, and I want to go finish thinning the deer pen. I want to build the outhouse for the off-grid cabin up there, and I want to finish cutting in that trail to the very top of our mountain this year. So I've still got tons and tons of things to do, but I have to squeeze this project into everything else that I'm doing. Because I intend on this truck being a truck that I use on a regular basis, and I'm really, frankly, looking forward to figuring this out. But basically, from the waist down, it's a Super Duty, and it just has that Bumpside body on it with a 12 valve Cummins and that NV 4500, so it really should be a fun truck. Thank you guys for watching this week's video, and we will see you guys soon.